discussing yesterday the economic impact statement and what you did to prepare that economic impact statement. Do you recall that?
Yes.
We've actually been looking at one that's on the board here. I'm going to hand you a document and ask you if you recognize this.
Yes.
And can you tell the court what that is?
This is the economic impact statement that we filed.
And I believe you testified that it was signed by Earl Scales.
Yes.
But you prepared the document in its substance and content.
Yes.
Okay. This time you're not allowed to admit the economic impact statement evidence.
All right. It's been referred to, so.
It has, and
I thought actually it had been introduced. You may pass it to the court.
and it is part of the record from our previous proceeding. I just wanted the record to be clear to that.
If you may have it. What number is it?
Dr. Dent.
One second.
Sorry. Dr. Dent, we were discussing each item of the economic impact statement yesterday.
Does she need it back? Or is it?
Do you recall that?
Yes.
And when we left off yesterday with your testimony, we were about to get to item E of the economic impact statement. And I'm going to ask you, what did you do in your analysis to determine a comparison of the cost and benefits of the proposed rule to the probable cost and benefits of not adopting the proposed rule or significantly amending the existing rule?
We looked at several different options through our research. We had conducted several months of research and looked at different options other states were using. We had discussed options that of biometrics as well as the card system, and realized that in using biometrics that it would be a more up-to-date and technologies forward process than utilizing just the card system, as well as the pros and cons of using the card system weren't as great and as reliable as using the biometric system.
Was there anything in particular about the technology itself, the biometrics versus the, let's say, EBT system, that you looked at?
Well, within the biometric system, it is, we received the Keplinger report in October of 12. It's a national report, and they had reported that it was a nationwide trend to start using biometric technology for different reasons, to improve security, prevent fraud, reduce payroll errors, and lower liability. That this would be the most reliable and affordable method for us to go forward. And we wanted to make sure that when we procured a system, that it was a system that we could use for many years and not just for a few years and then have to move forward again. So we wanted to go ahead and just utilize the most forthcoming method.
So was one of your concerns not using outdated technology, or current technology becoming quickly outdated?
Yes.
In talking about biometrics, what are some of the things that, under the heading of biometrics, besides finger scanning, that are out there?
There's iris scanning, palm vein scanning, gait and hand wave recognition as well. There's other, there are many methods of biometrics.
So biometrics is sort of a generic term, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And within biometrics, then, the things you just listed are options for a biometric system.
Yes.
And finger scanning is but one of those options. In terms of the economic impact statement under item E, what did you consider in terms of not adopting the proposed rule or significantly amending the existing rule?
Excuse me, where's the man folks?
Dr. Dent, you're actually looking at the economic impact statement, and I'm reading from the statutory requirements. So just for the record, when we're talking about item E, the statute, which is Mississippi Code annotated 2543, 3.1052E, would you look at your economic impact statement and tell us which item you looked at in comparing the cost and benefits of the proposed rule and probable cost and benefits of not adopting the proposed rule?
Number 7.
Okay. And could you tell us what drawbacks of not adopting the rule did you consider?
One of the things that we were worried about would be that additional families wouldn't be served. We wanted to cut administrative costs and cut administrative costs and then save funds by having an automated system. One of the things that our primary goal was to be able to serve as many children as we possibly could and be able to take children off the waiting list, and through identifying fraud within the state, that we could do that through this program.
And did you think the benefits of not adopting the rule outweigh the benefits of adopting the rule?
We did. With the federal cuts that we're facing, one of the primary goals was to be able to make sure that we could still serve as many children as possible. So within having an automated system and having more reliable, validated attendance, that we could identify that and be able to serve more children.
So in terms of preparing the economic impact statement, did you think keeping the current program was better than adopting a new program?
No, we did not want to keep the current program. Our plan was to move forward to adopt a new program.
Item F in the statute requires a determination of whether less costly methods or intrusive methods exist for achieving the purpose of the proposed rule, where reasonable alternative methods exist which are not precluded by law. If you look at your economic impact statement, can you tell us which item corresponds with the item I just read into the record?
That's the second paragraph of number 7.
Before we get to the second paragraph of number 7, turn back to page 2 of the economic impact statement.
Okay.
You see item D.
Yes.
Would you read for the record what you have described in item D?
You said 7? Sorry, you said 2?
Page 2.
Page
Page 2, item D. Item 6D.
To describe any less intrusive or less costly alternative methods of achieving the purpose of proposed regulation, including and following regulatory flexibility analysis.
And what did you do in that analysis?
We looked at in order to achieve the same benefits as what this system would give us, we estimated that we would have to visit all of the providers within the state and monitor them to be able to achieve the same validity. This would mean increased some of the information that we would receive through this updated system.
So what was the purpose of that analysis then, in terms of the economic impact statement?
We were comparing what other options we would have that we felt like we would need to implement if we did not implement biometrics.
So did you determine whether there were any less costly or less intrusive means other than going to the system that you're proposing?
We did not, we were not able to determine that. We determined that biometrics was the best way to go.
And when you testified a moment ago that your office would have been required to personally visit each provider center,
Yes.
you said to monitor, would that have been a one-time or an ongoing issue?
It was projected as a one-time visit in the statement, but we would certainly want it to be more than that.
Did you currently have the staff in your office to achieve that method?
No.
So would you have had to hire additional staff just to attempt to achieve that other alternative method?
Yes.
And did you determine that was not a cost-effective or beneficial way of implementing the program?
Yes, we did determine that.
Okay. Looking at the economic impact statement, I believe you were about to refer to the second paragraph of item 7. So is it accurate that your economic impact statement has two different sections that relate to item F, making a determination for less costly or intrusive means?
Yes.
Okay. And could you describe what you did in item number 7, second paragraph of item 7, to determine whether they were less costly methods or intrusive methods?
We did not find an alternate method that would achieve the same results.
And you testified yesterday that you had looked at other states that had programs similar or were using some type of electronic time and attendance tracking. Were some of your assessments based on the investigation and field work you had done?
Yes, we had talked with Louisiana as well as had a few conversations with Oklahoma and determined through that research as well as different written research that we were reading that it was the best method for us to move towards.
In the second paragraph of item 7 of the economic impact statement, you say that MDHS has not found an alternative method for a more cost-effective way to operate this program that the benefits of parents and the child care providers. Would you describe how you reached that conclusion?
Well, we looked at being able to, we looked at all the benefits that biometrics would give us, as well as the card system would give us, as well as providers and parents. And through those evaluations of the benefits of each system, we felt like the biometric system had more benefits than cons than the card system. And one was fraud issues. Another thing was that when families would forget their cards at home or in their wherever they would leave them, that it was problematic for those families to check their children in and out of the car sometimes. And so in our evaluation of each program, we looked at the pros and cons of each one, and we evaluated that the biometric system would be better because they would have to come in, they would always have their scans, or they didn't leave their scans at home. So that was probably we felt like that was the best way to move forward with the most benefits with the biometric system.
Anything else that went into that analysis?
We really realized that through that, it would benefit the providers and being able to give them payments quicker, less paperwork. It would give them the option for, give them payments through direct deposit, and it would help the agency reduce administrative cost.
And all that was taken into consideration and is reflected in your economic impact statement?
Yes.
Moving on to the next item, item G in the statute asks for a description of reasonable alternative methods, where applicable, for achieving the purpose of the proposed action, which were considered by the agency, and a statement of the reasons for rejecting those alternatives in favor of the proposed rule. Can you look at your economic impact statement and tell me where you address that in the statement, please?
Number 8.
Okay. And what do you refer to in item 8 of the economic impact statement?
We refer back to number 7.
Okay. So would your testimony that you've just given with regard to item G contained in section 8 of your economic impact statement, would your testimony from item 7 include everything that you consider?
It would, and that, that one of the things that we also considered was that if we implemented the card system, it would have been, we felt that it was a waste of funds to implement that because we already had a self-reporting system.
When you say self-reporting, could you describe would you describe, when you say a waste of funds to use electronic cards, could you tell the board why that would have been a waste of money?
Through our research, we found that other states had had problems with the card system because when they would go in to monitor, they would find the cards at the center. And the director would slide the cards for check-in and check-out, even if the children weren't there at the center. And so that was one of the things that we felt was not an option because it would still be a self-report because the center could possibly use the cards to be able to check the children in and out. And that's the same process we have now with e-ledgers because the directors self-report the attendance of the children each day.
Is the biometric system, would that be considered a self-reporting system?
No.
And why is that?
Because the parents have to be physically at the center to check the children in and out each day.
And what happens when that scan is actually imprinted into the machine? Where does that information go?
That information goes to Xerox, and the scan itself is transferred into a number. It's not a picture, but it is actually a number that then goes into their database to register that the child has checked in for that day and checked out for that day.
And that information is also available to you in your department, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And I think you testified yesterday, you can actually look at that on a real-time basis.
Yes, we can each day, at any time.
And under the self-reporting system, was that option available to you?
We can look at the system of where a director will report attendance, but it's a month after the fact of attendance. It's not real-time information.
Item H of the Administrative Procedure Statute asks you to do a detailed statement of the data and methodology used in making estimates required by this section. Can you look at your economic impact statement and tell me where you address that?
Number 10.
Okay. And there's been considerable testimony over the last 2 days about some of your methodology, but for the record, once again, would you just walk through how you determine the information needed to address item H of the statute?
We visited Louisiana and had several conversations with them how they would do things differently. We talked about how they, how their policies affected their system.
Let me stop you right there just for when you say how their policies affect the system, can you describe exactly what you mean by that?
How they used, their time and their attendance policies. When we learned that they, wanted to, that they charged 6-minute increments, that we knew right then that we were not going to do that. We did not want to do that with our providers, that we wanted to keep our attendance policies the same.
Okay.
So we evaluated all of the pros and cons that Louisiana system had. We had discussions with Oklahoma, staff had discussions with Oklahoma about that. And through cost benefit analysis that we looked at the savings over administrative cost within the system development, we decided that through those investigations and that research that this was the best way to go with this technology.
How many people accompanied you to Louisiana on that fact-finding mission?
4,
And how many people did you meet with while you were in Louisiana?
probably about 10.
And could you briefly describe some of the areas that those individuals in Louisiana represented?
It was their, the leadership with their eligibility system. It was their state administrator, their state child care administrator, not here in Louisiana. And then they had a group of people that were on their finance committee, their budgets and accounting basically group that managed their funds, and I think they had some procurement people in there too.
Did they make a presentation to your group?
Yes, they told us about their system, they told us about their policies, and then we had a question and answer session throughout that for several hours.
How long did that meeting last?
Probably 4 to 5 hours.
What did Louisiana, your counterpart Louisiana, tell you why they adopted a biometric system?
Their biggest reason was to prevent fraud. And they wanted to get through their waiting list. And when they implemented biometrics, they did. They took all their children in off of their waiting list, and now they do not have a waiting list.
Did they tell you what their waiting list was prior to implementing biometrics?
I don't remember the number that they had.
We were asked some questions yesterday about the methods that Louisiana used. What did you understand was the cost savings that was conveyed to you that Louisiana's department achieved through using biometrics?
36 million.
Those were those projections?
No, those were actual savings.
And who conveyed that information to you?
Their team did, as well as the state administrator.
Is there any other methodology for data that you considered as part of your economic impact statement?
We compared the cost benefit analysis of taking in the program and utilizing this
you list the goals you had in mind to achieve as a result of implementing the biometric system?
We wanted to give providers direct deposit. We wanted to give them faster payments twice a month. And we wanted to reduce fraud within the state, as well as reduce our administrative costs and be able to serve more children.
So one of your goals was to reduce the waiting list?
Yes, by serving more children is taking children off of the waiting list.
Through your research, you learned that Louisiana was able to eliminate its waiting list?
Yes.
Turn to page 4 of your economic impact statement. You made some cost projections. Could you describe for the court what went into your analysis to make your cost projections?
We looked at bringing the system in-house, and we also looked at utilizing e-ledgers as well as utilizing the biometric system. And so with the fraud projections that we considered that would be evident in the state, that we could save those funds and be able to serve more children with the waiting list.
Those are estimates, correct?
They were all estimates, yes.
And they're estimates why?
Because we have not implemented the program fully in the state yet.
You were asked some questions yesterday by counsel opposite about the cost for fiscal year 13.
Yes.
You turn to page 2 of the economic impact statement, item 4. What did you estimate for the federal fiscal year 2013 as the cost of the e-Childcare program?
$1.6 million.
You recall being asked yesterday some questions about some other expenditures.
Yes.
You recall being asked about e-ledger expenditure.
Yes.
Why did you not include that in the economic impact statement?
This submission of the economic impact statement was in relation to our next year, the federal fiscal year 2013 policy manual, and so we were going forward with that, the information within the policy manual and how the economic impact would be going forward. So that was a projection for the full cost.
Is that what you understood the economic impact statement to require?
Yes.
You were also asked about a $1.7 million expenditure yesterday.
Yes.
You recall that?
Yes.
Why was that not included in the economic impact statement?
That had already been expended from the previous fiscal year.
And as an estimate going forward, did you consider that to be included as part of the requirement for the economic impact statement going forward?
No, because it wasn't going to be included in the federal fiscal year of 13.
I hand you a document. You were asked a question yesterday about payments to Xerox, and you were given a document which has been marked as Exhibit 2. Do you recall
Yes.
that?
Yes.
The document that was marked yesterday as Exhibit 2, is that a complete document?
No.
What number of pages is it?
It says page 2 of the
morning is, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And can you tell the court what this document is?
This is the document that I have, used, that is attached to the amendment of the EBT contract that has the, allocated payment, for the 5 years of this contract through 2018.
And does this appear to be page 1 and 2, a two-page document?
Yes.
That's up here.
No, no objection. You may pass that to the floor.
You were asked some questions yesterday about the $12 million that's reflected on what's just been marked as Exhibit 12. You mentioned an allocation. Can you explain how this contract structure works when you refer to the term allocation?
When you have an allocation for a project, you project, the expenditure that you're going to use on the project, even if it's over a period of time, such as 5 years. So with the 5 years, it has a maximum spending authority that you can expend the funds up to that amount, but you can't spend over those funds. And so with, throughout the years, even though you have an allocated amount, you pay through purchase orders, or expenditures that are approved through this funding stream that's been allocated.
And I know you didn't prepare this document, but you did say you've seen it before.
Yes.
And at the bottom of page 1, under products and services purchase details, does it reflect a 12-month allocation of payments?
No, it projects 5 years of payments.
Okay, I'm sorry. Would you explain what that, part of that page 1 on that document shows?
It shows where, how much the estimated cost per year would be. So it has, 3 months for, July 12 through, September of 12, and then the next 4 fiscal years, 5 fiscal years, yeah.
Then, how do providers, licensed providers, let you know that they're going to participate in the program?
They are responding to, a questionnaire on SurveyMonkey.
What is SurveyMonkey?
It's a way to, have questionnaires answered through a website on the internet. So, it's, when you go through to respond to the questionnaire, it asks, several questions about if they're interested in continuing to participate in the program after implementation.
And based on the responses of that survey, what do you utilize that information for?
Objection, Your Honor. That's not even included
Dent, I believe you testified yesterday